It's important to have a vision. The Bible says the people without a vision will perish. This vision is very simple. We're continuing on to educate, to inform, to empower. And that comes with information. So the vision for the cultural exchange is simply this: to create a culture, because culture is who we are, what we do, how we take care of ourselves, and the legacy that we leave to generations to come. We want to leave a powerful legacy that we can move forward and know that the generations to come will be taken care of, and that we've done a good job in leading them down that path. It's to create a culture of collaboration through sharing information that will empower our community, city, county, and state. That's who we are. That's what we're about, and that's why you're here. And you'll be a part of that new culture, moving forth, sharing that information, and creating that kind of environment. And inform people is truly, and empower people. Now, as we go forth, we bring in some information to you. I'm always honored to introduce our congressman, because he covers us on a national level. Everything we have filters down to us, and he has been taking care of us in a mighty and powerful way. So I'm honored to present to you our District 4 Congressman Hank Henry Johnson, who is a member of the House.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Great to be with you this morning. Last Monday, I went down to the state capitol at 9 o'clock to stand in the line so that I could qualify to run for my 7th term in Congress. And as I traveled to the Capitol, I was just reminiscing about the fact that, man, this is the 7th time that I'm qualifying for this seat. How fortunate I am, how blessed I have been. And I thought back to where it all began, which was on the DeKalb County Commission, and having run there in 2000 and in 2004 for re-election. And this 18 years has run by so quickly. And time is of the essence. It's not so much what happened yesterday or what could happen tomorrow, but it's what you do right now in the present moment that sets the stage for your future. And so I was just really reminiscing on how fortunate I have been to have been entrusted by the citizens of DeKalb County first, and then the citizens of the 4th District to represent them. And as a lawyer, having practiced law for 27 years before I went to Congress, I represented people, but when I went to Congress, that was my biggest client. And when I went to Congress, I got there on a theme. My campaign theme was taking care of home first. Amen. And what that meant in my mind was that I wanted to have an office that served the people, that actually helped people in their dealings with the federal government. And so it's only fitting that I toot my own horn this morning in this regard. On yesterday, my district director, Kathy Register, along with my constituent, constituent representative Eric Hubbard, they traveled to Washington, D.C. yesterday to attend a lunch of the Congressional Management Foundation. The Congressional Management Foundation is a bipartisan group of kind of internal to Congress people who administer things in Congress in terms of the entire congressional, in terms of the legislative branch. So this group selected out of 240 congressional offices around the country, both Democratic and Republican. They selected the top 4 district offices in the nation for the rendition of constituent services. And the 4th Congressional District Office was one of those 4. And so, the only congressional office in Georgia, the only African American office there. So I say that to say that it's been a team approach. It hasn't been just Hank Johnson standing as a solo figure doing everything to make me great. It's really been the yeoman's work of the people in the district office who have performed for you, and so you then return your gratitude by voting to keep me in. And that's the way it hasn't been my being a spokesman for various issues and all the stuff that's going on in Washington, D.C. has basically been the constituent services that is the hallmark of why I serve. And so I want to thank you for allowing me to serve you for the last 11 years in Congress, going on 12. This is the 12th year. I've qualified to run for a 7th term. I look forward to serving you for an additional 2 years and rendering excellent constituent services. Thank everyone for what you're doing. I'm going to be sponsoring one of these monthly breakfasts too.
Congressman, we are looking forward to you serving us another 2 years, but I'm not biased. I'm just saying. Looking forward. Okay, now I'd like to introduce our legislative update representative. Representative Doreen Carter will come up and give us some information about what's been happening down under the Golden Dome before session is over, I think in about 5 or 6 days. Representative Doreen Carter.
Good morning. Good morning. I'd like to ask my colleague, State Representative Pam Stevenson. Yes. The great one to come on up here. I didn't see you over there. We got State Senator Tanya Anderson over there. We have delegation in the house. I can't see you. So I'm State Representative Doreen Carter. I represent House District 92. And House District 92 covers parts of DeKalb County and Rockdale County. I serve on 4 committees, Education, Special Rules, Small Business, and Code Revision. I also serve as the treasurer of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, and probably some other things. And then my colleague.
My name is Pam Stevenson again. I serve District 90. That includes DeKalb, Henry, and Rockdale. And I've been doing that for a while. I serve on ranking member for the Democrats for Judiciary. I'm on Health and Human Services. I'm on intergovernmental coordination, as well as the model revision of all kinds of bills that needs to be checked.
And I am State Senator Tanya Anderson, and I represent Senate District 43. For those of you who don't know, that is a portion of DeKalb, Rockdale, and Newton, which used to be, for everybody in this room that's been in DeKalb forever, it used to be Ron Ramsey's seat. So and when I say that, they're like, oh yeah. But it is DeKalb, Rockdale, and Newton. As an Air Force veteran, I serve on Defense and Veteran Affairs Committee. I serve on MARTOC, which is an oversight committee for MARTA. It's a joint House and Senate committee. I also serve on public safety, retirement, special judiciary, and economic development and tourism. Wonder why? Well, Newton is very booming in that industry, and so is Rockdale, but guess what? So will DeKalb. Come on. We gotta bring it. It's gonna be greater. Yes, it's gonna be greater. So, with that, I am thankful to have served in public office since 2006. So for most of you who don't know, I started as a city council member, and then I served as mayor, and then I served as state rep and now state senator. And I am pumping the brakes because public service is my life, always has been my life. But I'm at the Senate level, and I am grateful for the opportunity to serve and to continue to serve. And I look forward to your continued support as I qualified on Monday as well.
I was wondering what that company break is. Well, you know, Pam, we can't leave an opportunity here. I qualified, but too. And so,
No, I didn't do it till Thursday.
well, we heard that we were supposed to all go Thursday, but we didn't know about that. Where's the congressman? So, he's our congressman, and I don't remember what you said, but it sounded like you didn't want to say something. But let me tell you, this is the best representative that any
Absolutely.
constituent can have in Washington, D.C. And we need to make sure I've known him before he was ever elected to anything, right? And I appreciate him because we broke bread when he was just Hank.
I know.
Right? But we have to do that. You know, we all work really, really hard, and sometimes you guys may not know how hard we're working because you don't really see all the stuff that we're dealing with behind the scene. But a lot of the things that you guys see after the session that passed, you should be saying thank you, Jesus, because it could have been some other stuff. So let me get this one thing off. There was a bill that Megan Henson, and I shouldn't have called her name, but anyway, but y'all need to know who did it. She is a representative in DeKalb County. The DeKalb County delegation meets every Monday when we're in session. The House does. The House meets every Monday at noon.
The Senate meets on Thursdays.
But every week, right?
Every week.
So every week, we bring legislation. If there is legislation, if there's an issue, we address it. We heard about this bill to eliminate the CEO, I think in the news.
Well, no, she put it in the government affairs, and then it went through the same
No, but
day.
nobody knew about it.
We heard about news. And so we have something that's called rules. The House has rules, the Senate has rules, all of our delegation has rules. And this is how legislation is supposed to go forward. In this particular case, the only county that technically has a CEO is DeKalb. So that should have been some local legislation that should have come through the delegation, and we should have had a conversation about it. We've had conversations in the county in the past about that particular position, and if she felt like we needed to eliminate it, we should have had all of us at the table. Sometimes you have people that make assumptions on how we're going to address legislation, and you all read in the newspaper that this particular bill was set forth because we wouldn't do anything. This is my third session. No one has ever presented, the 3 years I've been there, had a discussion about whether or not we need to eliminate the CEO position. So that information is false. So when you guys are reading some of this stuff in the paper, just understand sometimes you're not getting the whole truth. It's swayed a little bit. But I can say that that bill did not come out of rules. It did pass out of committee. They violated the rules, meaning that bill was dropped. And so when we say drop, we sign a bill and we present it, it goes to the hopper. The bill went into the hopper on the 20th, I think it was. It had a hearing on the 21st and voted out of committee on the 21st. And then was on the rules, in the rules committee on the 22nd. Now, one of the things, there's something, we have a tracking system. If you want to track that bill, you're going to see some different days. Because the chair of that committee held the bill to the next day and turned it in. So it appeared it had that went through the process. Now, if someone wants to drop a bill and go and get assigned to a committee out of order, what you do is you push that button, the speaker recognizes you, and you make a motion. That did not, no one made a motion to suspend the rules to have that bill assigned to a committee that day. That didn't happen. So things like that is what's happening to hurt the cab. To hurt y'all in the room in the cab. But that's what's happening down there. And so it wasn't a local bill, it was a general bill, because they do general bills to usurp the process. So if they feel like, if the Republicans feel like they cannot get the signatures they need from the Democrats, because there's more of us, then they usurp the process. And what has happened, they've done this so long in DeKalb, that now the other Republicans around the state are starting to do the same thing in other black communities, which you see Stockbridge and this other new city. So Eagles, I just couldn't think the name of it. So wants to be a new city. But the thing is, and why it's so important, we appreciate you all supporting us and electing us and giving us, but we need for you guys sometimes to call your friends around the state and tell them why it's so important that they vote for people who definitely support their interests. And sometimes you need folk that look like you. So
All the time.
well, sometimes you need folk that look like you. But anyway, so that to me was a big thing, that particular bill. I know that a lot of people was wondering about Greenhaven, which was really another weird situation. When a bill is heard in committee, the author of the bill should present. In this particular case, the author wasn't there. The chairman decided that he would champion the bill, and they pretty much swayed the other Republicans in the room to make a motion and vote a certain way. There were quite a few people that were in the room that gave testimony about that particular piece of legislation, and majority of them did not want this. They did not want to be in a new city. You had some people saying that we were violating their right to vote. Well, I want to explain a little bit about that, because I think as African Americans, we need to not use that terminology out of place, because there are times when our right to vote is violated. One of the things in a process, when you have a referendum, so like the city of Stonecrest, there was a question on the ballot that says, do you want a city? The people say yes or no. So now you have city of Stonecrest. But what we do is we vote on the legislation. And sometimes if we don't make sure that those charters that we're voting on are good policy, so that those cities can get up and going, you don't really want to support in that. And that was one of the things for me that I feel like got lost in the translation, that from my perspective, I was not trying to keep anyone from voting on whether or not they wanted a city of Greenhaven. But what I did not want to happen is for a charter to pass, and it's something that would have caused havoc if that city had passed. Now, back to the meeting. The chairman decided to move that bill forward, and it voted out of committee, even though there were a lot of people that didn't want it. It is what it is. Then the bill moved on to rules, and from there, it did not come out. So for the most part, from my perspective, that bill didn't go anywhere. I would like to see us have a real in-depth conversation on how we do economic development in South DeKalb. I would like for us to have real conversations on how we drive industry and create jobs in our community. And sometimes you don't necessarily need a different entity as far as a government to do that, but we definitely need some willing people to come together. So that's my perspective on So those are the two things that I know were kind of hot in this area that I wanted to make sure that we gave y'all some updates on.
What about model?
I was gonna,
Yeah.
Okay, talk-
Cause,
I was gonna talk about
the
mine.
council person said I talked enough.
It says there's so many of them, things go together. Let me first say about the cities in Stockbridge, because I represent that area. The problem was not for the people to vote, is that they will go de-annex the property without allowing the people to vote. So the idea is, when the chair said, well, it wasn't the chair, it was Representative Fleming said, well, you know, we have to have due process. I said, due process is for the jury to decide. And we will be there very shortly.
Okay.
But the idea that they thought they were going to win, to put them in a city where people didn't want to even lose their property, and then to take what we call, they had a bond already, they would have had that bond and they would have had to pay once they put them in another city. So that was not correct. The other thing is that with, my colleague talked about Stonecrest, but it's not over until March 29th. So
Well,
it may still be
Greenhaven.
some things going. I said Stockbridge or Greenhaven. So we have to do that. Because it's still there. But the one that to do away with the, what I call our CEO's office, when that person did that, the speaker, no, he wanted, that's what, transportation. He couldn't have that fighting us, because we could bring our own people to the table to say no, so it stopped. The first time, because I want to talk a little bit about the criminal justice system, is that okay? Because we're doing the reform, and we're the only state that didn't have a hate crime bill. So the person who was carrying the bill regarding the hate crime was the same one who wanted to do away with the CEO. But we also had a person, Karen Bennett, who had a bill. So we took both of them, we put them to the side, and then the chair of judiciary, as long as with us, that really did it, had a meeting the other day, and guess what we did? We passed out of that committee a hate crime bill that's gonna go to the House so that we can, and it was a lot of people there saying, you don't need a hate crime bill, you have enough. Why would you do something with the sentencing different? Was we know we have a lot of sentencing that's very different depending where you are, and I'm proud to say that I believe we have one of the best benches in the whole state, because I've been in most of them. A year ago, when we had the opportunity to redo our traffic, and for those that are now the state court judges for the traffic division, we worked real hard, because I signed that bill to make sure we got the judges that we needed at that time. And we should have had more. So for those that are here, I thank you very much, because we're doing a great job. We also did the reform by talking about this thing called bonding and how much we pay, no matter where we are on bonding.
Can you speak up, Pam?
Yes, how much we pay for the bonding issue. And then we have this idea that if you're 17, are you still a juvenile, or are people going to treat 17-year-olds as adults? So we're looking to put that back. Judge Adams helped me the first year I was there to carry that bill. We're still trying to get those that are 17 to be looked at as adults, unless the crime dictates something different. But we're working on that. So we continue to look at how we're looking at all criminal reform. And without saying anything else, healthcare is my thing. I do it. We don't have Medicaid for families, but we say we love families.
Yeah.
And if a person is married, dad can't get it, so the whole family is about. So those are just some of the things that I like to talk about. And I know we're going to talk about education, because my colleagues do a lot of that. I always say I did not vote for 338. I don't believe in that person that goes around and says that they're going to take over because of the chief officer. Because if in fact the superintendent and the people on the Board of Education at the state side actually is appointed by the governor, then you have the person who's the turnaround, who's going to answer to them. Then how can they help if it's the same people? Because if you're in a to me, in an area that's not progressing, they shouldn't be on the board either. If you can take them out of here, you shouldn't be talking about it there.
Right.
So that's my opinion of it, and until we do that and reach out and really not just talk to the children, not just going to schools, but talk to the parents. We have a time for parents. We do it in court, we can do it in the schools. So I thank you all for what you do, but I'm gonna be at Brownsville and Salem as long as they're there.
That's my way. So I have to be very, very brief. No, it's okay. So we do all of that in a matter of 30 days, 32 days, 33 days. And we still have several more days to go. But I forgot to mention that I serve on retirement committee as well, which deals with employee retirement, specifically teachers. We're trying to update that so that your contributions reflect your work and the time that you put in. Somebody want to be there? They are the first, besides pastors, the teachers are it. Legislators, we are it. So, that's exactly right. So the second thing is that, as I mentioned that I served in the military, so as a veteran, we are working on a lot of veteran issues that would allow Hope Scholarship to be extended to National Guardsmen and their families. Military ID now can be used as a form of ID to vote. And we're just trying to make it as easy as possible. Because they're always defending us, and I'm saying we are always defending. Somebody right now is even defending the border so that we can sit in this meeting quietly and peacefully. And so we're doing all that we can to help support our veterans. Lastly, for our education, we passed a bill that requires mandatory recess for kindergarten through 5th grade. But activity, it helps balance them, keep their brain working, keep it going, and keeps them energetic and attentive. And we thank you all so much for all that you do to help us. And if we need you, we say we need you, we really, really need you. We need you to show up, come down, and stand up and help us fight the good fight. God bless you. God bless you.
Okay, 2 more minutes.
Where's
Okay, transportation bill was in the House and in the Senate. We have a thing going on with Senator Beach. The person we have, Representative Kevin Tanner in the House. We allowed it to go in the Senate, in the House, because we were allowed some things and we were really close on it. So I can tell you we're into a metro region of how we're going to look at transportation, and we're going to come back and allow the citizens to know as we move on with it, and as we move on with it, we're going to be sending out newsletters and status from the Senate to the House, and we're proud that we're working together on all.
And I will add this really quickly. Those of us who sit on the MARTOC committee have kind of formed a transit coalition pretty much focusing on this area. So the folks in the House who sit on the committee, we're building up to that. But right now I have congressmen, the commissioners, because we want to make sure that it is a collaborative effort, an effort that makes sense for the entire region from all perspectives, from local, from county, state, and federal, because since our congressman sits on House Transportation, we need all the pieces working to make this happen. And so we can say we paid a penny, we shouting about the penny, but if nobody's doing anything with the plan, we're still gonna be shouting about that penny.
And
So,
And South Cap still needs rail.
we do. So we're talking about something, holistic that will make sense for this time, that may have been more conducive then, that may not be as conducive now, but we're working it to make it a collaborative effort to make it a holistic plan.
Okay, I was tooting my own horn this morning.
You can do that.
But now what I want to do is talk about transportation. The Trump administration has proposed a $1.5 trillion infrastructure bill. Sounds good on paper, $1.5 trillion, but there's only $200 billion in direct federal spending. in that 1.5 trillion. The rest would come from the private sector. And you attract the private sector by offering tax incentives for them to take their money, rehabilitate public assets, and then charge a user fee to recoup their cost. So it's actually a transfer of public infrastructure to the private sector right after they have received a massive tax cut. So now you're going to propose to, with their money that they got from the tax cut, for them to invest it in the public sector and then charge the public a user fee. So that's a concept they call public-private partnership, 3 Ps. It sounds revolutionary, or it sounds like it's a new way to go, but it's actually a technique of the old trick of transfer public to private assets. Give public assets to the private sector. It's not anything that I'm in favor of, and it simply won't work when it comes to rural areas or areas where infrastructure is needed, but there's not enough people to pay the user fees to make it profitable for the private sector. So, you know, that's where we are with infrastructure now. At the same time, Trump proposes a $1.5 trillion infrastructure plan with $200 billion in direct spending over a period of 10 years. At the same time they're doing that, they're trying to cut, he proposes to cut the budget of the Department of Transportation by 19%, almost a fifth. Its budget you're going to cut. So it's dealing with Donald Trump and his administration is just like it is trying to follow them on TV. And I give them an A. I give Trump an A for knowing how to manipulate the media. Because as soon as the Stormy Daniels thing hit, I mean, and that's a serious situation where, you know, a guy who is accused of, well, you're a presidential candidate, you're coming up on your election, and all of a sudden you got a gal showing up saying, okay, I had an affair with you 10 years ago, and I'd like to receive some hush money. And so you get your lawyer to give her some hush money. So where did the money come from? And is that, when you are spending money for a campaign purpose, because after all it is for the campaign, you're trying to suppress this information so that you can get elected. That's a campaign contribution. Contributions have limits. And if you exceed the limit, then you violated the law. So $130,000 is about 127.5, well, I'm not good at that. No. 2,700 is your maximum contribution, or 5,000 if you're a PAC. So, you know, so as soon as Stormy Daniels comes out, because you didn't pay her, your lawyer paid her, and the lawyer said, no, I did it from my own money. There's something that doesn't smell right. So what you do as Donald Trump, you announce tariffs. And then while that is still roiling, and Stormy Daniels continues to roil also, then you say, okay, I'm going to meet with the leader of North Korea. And so you got all of this stuff swirling at one time, it's inconsistent, and leaves people confused. And so that is the same thing that they do as far as the policies that they put forward in Congress. And that is exactly why the nation is going, when things are moving forward, the nation is actually falling behind under this kind of leadership. And then what's happening in Congress is Trump is so popular with his base that the members of Congress are afraid to buck on it. So therefore, whatever he says is that's what they follow. And so they control Congress. They control they have a majority in the House and in the Senate. And so they're going to roll off the cliff and take us all with them unless the American people wake up and start voting in their economic interests. And it's hard to do when you've got a group of steel workers standing behind you as you announce tariffs. They don't know that even though they might see a plant go up to produce steel, that it won't be that many jobs in there because everything is going to robots now. And so they're being used. It's caused confusion. And so it's up to the people to work their way through all of that confusion, get down to the bottom line. And the bottom line is we need a change in the makeup of Congress. We've got to get there. And so I want to encourage everybody to, and by the way, on the state level, state representatives, state senate, that's where, and governor.
Governor.
That's where the redistricting or the lines for the Congress will be drawn in 2021. And unless we can move more Democrats into the legislature, the state legislature, then the Republicans will draw the lines.
Right.
Now, if we can't get control of the state senate and the state house, Democrats, then our only alternative is the governor's office.
Right.
Because the governor has a veto over the reapportionment or redistricting plan. So we must go to the polls and elect Democrats, federal, state, and local. So that's my message to you. Thank you.
I forgot to mention that I'm sitting at the cool kids table this morning.
Okay, I'm Marita Davis Johnson. I'm the commissioner of the 5th Commission District. Greg Adams, who is coming up, is the super commissioner. And I'm just going to be very short. Thank you, Ron and Mrs. Rob, I'm sorry. Rob. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Turner, for hosting this breakfast. We really do need it, and you give us vital information that feeds us each month. I also like to thank my legislative delegation. They're doing a fantastic job down at the state legislature, and they're always there for us, and we work closely together because we know the issues that we face. And one of the things that I just like to say, they spoke a little bit about economic development. And so we realize in DeKalb County, and we're taking measures in DeKalb County to get a comprehensive look of what is happening throughout this country, not only in DeKalb County, but throughout the country. Now, I was reading this morning that Toys R Us are going into bankruptcy, and they're closing. And it's just a matter of time before they're closing all of their stores. And so they're going e-commerce, if at all. You know, so we understand what's happening with the retail market, our planning our economic arm beside DeKalb. And so we're taking, and the state as well, we're taking collaborative efforts to look into exactly what is happening and what we need to do to bring the type of businesses into the county that is going to enhance the quality of life for all citizens of DeKalb County. I would just like to report that since January, when our CEO has come in, that we as a commission has been working closely together to push forward the initiatives that our CEO is bringing forth for the betterment of this county. Our major votes, we voted on the budget 6-1. We voted on the amendment to the budget 7-0. So all of the major initiatives that our CEO, Mike Thurman, is bringing about, we are voting as a block pretty much in DeKalb County. So I just wanted to let you all know that we understand what is happening in retail across the country, and that we're looking at it and we're studying what is happening, and we plan to bring sustained economic development in the county, as we're doing, that will provide jobs and enhance the quality of life.
Thank you. I'm Gregory Adams, Commissioner of District 7, and I sit on the board with this dear lady. And I got this, they put this out yesterday. DeKalb County adopted $1.2 billion budget. And that was the budget that the CEO introduced. Not only did he do that, it allowed us to hire more police officers. Y'all hear that? Right. And not only did are we able to hire more police officers, but everybody got a raise. Now let me say something about the raise situation. Y'all covered that now. Someone always talk about folks at Quick Trip make more than the people of DeKalb County, the police officers. Well, I went and pulled an application from Quick Trip, and they don't make no $50,000. The starting pay over there was $9.96, and it went up to $10. But the minimum wage in DeKalb County was $11.69. We then took the minimum wage from $11.69 all the way up to $14. And the board, we look at the 15th next year. When you go talk about, well, what are y'all doing for the police officers? In 2013, when I ran for CEO, I made a proposal that we give the police officers a raise. Well, I didn't win the election, but I'm so appreciative that Borough took it forward and gave them a 3%, which was a bonus, and then gave them a 3% raise. We gave them take-home cards. And let me explain about the take-home cards. Take-home cards allow the officers, when they're getting on to work and something happens, they're supposed to stop and tend to that situation and notify officers that's going to do them, and they'll come and take it over. So I said it's a plus for the county, it's a plus for the officers, because they don't get to do the wear and tear on their car. So it's a blessing. We're working hard to build and better DeKalb County. And the Board of Commissioners that we have today are the most cohesive board. We work together to build, to unite, and navigate this county to a better county.
Our CEO introduced a program last year, and I thought it was a terrific program, so that we could provide jobs for you in the county during the summer. And so we have increased that budget, but I want you to know last year, I don't know exactly how many we have per commissioners. Last year we had 10. This year I'm hoping we have more, but the CEO's office has many more. But I just want you to know that if your child, your nephew, your grandchild need a job this summer, the sooner that you email me, the better. And my email is mdjohnson@DeKalbCountyGA.gov. That's mdjohnson@DeKalbCountyGA.gov. And one thing that our CEO stated was, if pimps and drug dealers could give our youth jobs, so can we. So we're doing that.
March is Women's Month. Last year, my wife and I sat down and we talked about honoring women. So we looked across the county, the women that are doing great and are significant things within the county. Last year, we had a couple of recipients that received awards. In fact, being the president of the NAACP chapter in DeKalb County received one. And now we got a couple of honorees in here today. Our event is March 29th. So we urge y'all to come out and look at us as we award these individuals that have done great work in DeKalb County. Thank you.
Commissioners, thank you to our House reps and our senator.
Excuse me, she's one of those honorees of this year. Y'all give her a hand.
Thank you. You know, Rob and I give a lot of thought to what to bring to you. And I was at Commissioner Larry Johnson's meeting about a week ago, and they were dealing with safety. Safety is heightened our awareness of what are we doing to keep our community safe. And so that's what we came up with our team to bring you information. But it's obvious this morning that a lot is going on. A lot is going on the Washington, the national level. A lot is going on downtown. And we have to be sober. I read somewhere, you have to be sober and alert at all times. Because sometimes you will be lulled to sleep and miss it or fall for the okie doke. And so I'm very grateful. We are grateful to have public servants who got their ear to the ground and they're bringing that information back to us to affect the quality of our lives. So thank you. I can't thank our congressman enough. I really can't. I told my grandson, I said, how many of you can say you had a congressman that came this close to you and was willing to communicate with you and touch you? Our commissioners that are here, and I salute each one of them. But right now, I want my board chair. Yes, sir.
I just want to make a correction that was said, something that was said earlier, because I was hoping you guys could read between the lines, but obviously some of us didn't. Let me say this and be very clear about it. There's a book that says, as for me and my house, we serve the Lord. Well, as for me and my house, we're supporting Hank Johnson.
And look, thank y'all so much for what you do. I just wanted to give a shout out to our state legislators because DeKalb is constantly under attack in the legislature. Year after year after year. Sometimes the attacks emanate from folks on the north side. Well, that's what's doing it is Republicans up on the north side trying to do in the south side, which is represented by Democrats, and they just happen to be people of color down there too. So I want to just take a minute just to shout out our state legislators.
Several of our elected officials that are here today, and we want to acknowledge you because serving in that capacity, Rob and I as elected officials, you got so many places to be, so many places to go, and sometimes you just make a mad dash through. We have a busy calendar, and I want to take a minute because I know some of you got little children. Thank God it's not us. Our babies are thank you, Jesus. We're finished with that land. And so we can stay out a little bit longer. We get to stay up a little longer. But we want to acknowledge we've got Judge Keisha Story here this morning. Judge Brian Ross, he's here. And I don't want to forget Judge Courtney Johnson is here. I don't want to miss anybody. Y'all got to help me. I got everybody. And it was George. Where's Brother George? That's not the husband. Don't tell Rob, okay? And my board chair, Dr. Irwin Michael Irwin serves on the Board of Education, and Dr. Irwin's got little children, God bless him. I said, I don't know how you do it, I'm so glad it's not us. But he got to run the baseball games, soccer games, all that stuff, so he came, he said, I'm gonna be there for breakfast, and then Mickey, I gotta go get Michael to his game. So Michael Irwin, if you see him on the street, say, thanks, Doc, for coming. And so, but he was here this morning, and so we want to thank him for being here. And Brother Hank is back in the
I'm going.
I don't know, y'all. He may be back. I don't believe it. But right, we do want to. Somebody got a finger up. That's in church. This is
My apologies, we're running to another meeting, but what I wanted to say is I am proud of all of the legislators sent out a newsletter. I do one weekly when we're in session. So if you're not getting the newsletter, you want the newsletter so you know what's going on in the legislature, send me an email, doreen.carter@house.gi.gov. I know I said that fast. Go to the General Assembly's website, click Doreen Carter, and my email is in there, and send me your email, and I'll add you to the newsletter.
okay.
All right, thank you.
And you all, we do have sign-in sheets on tables. Please sign in so we can capture your email so we can get you updates and we can let you know when we're having our meetings. Our meetings are always on the second Saturday and they're always here. He's committed this facility to us for the rest of the year. God bless this church. Used to be my church. We built it. But anyway, we've got candidates that are here, but before we get to the candidates, and everybody said a good while, and we thank you so much, but hasn't it been informative? Yes. That's what this is, a cultural exchange of information to help us make decisions over our lives. But we have the privilege of meeting our new public safety director from DeKalb County, and Mr. Jack Lumpkins. Am I right? And so Rob had a long narrative about who he is, but this man has said yes to a very important job, and that is to keep us all safe. And so we want to be nice to him. So he is nice to us and do the right things about our community. So let's give him a big hand.
Thank you, ma'am. Can you hear me in the back? You can? Okay, that's great. Thank you all for inviting me here today. Oh, so you can hear me. Thank you for inviting me here today. My name is Joseph Lumpkin. My father called me Jack. Everyone does that know me except my wife. She calls me Joseph. When she calls me Jack, I have done something wrong. I am here today to try to brief you what, and I think you probably have read exactly what the CEO has said that we should do. And I've joined his team as Public Safety Director, Chief, Deputy Chief Operating Officer. What does that mean? Is that we've got police services, 911 services, where it starts. PSAP, what you call 911. Police services, I think you fire services, animal services, the emergency management, and the medical exam. Most important in your life probably is 911. We don't necessarily think about that, we think that police are. But police and fire, etc., they don't get started most of the time until it goes to the panel. So it must be efficient. It's not where it needs to be, where it is going to be.
Excuse me, I can't hear you back here.
Cannot hear.
You can move up.
My voice doesn't carry very well. Like when I stopped teaching 10, 20 years ago. 911 is not as effective as it can be and it will be. We're installing, the commissioner has voted for some technology, some CAD technology that they're training on now. That will improve the services. What we want And what the national standard is for the telephone ring said is answered within 10 seconds. And that we cut abandoned calls down. Every community has abandoned calls in America because of peak service. You have an accident out on 285, you're going to get 25 calls on that one accident. So because of the cellular impact, you get multiple calls on most issues and challenges. That peaks it. There are only X amount of people in there answering telephones, and they've got to work through those. What we want to have is continuous improvement in that area. The next, I think what's the most important to you is police services. What affects your life every day. Police services in our community, we have been hemorrhaging officers for a number of years. Hemorrhaging, I mean that we hire X amount, but we lose about twice that. For the last probably 8 to 10 years, you've been a net loss of 30 to 40 officers a year. The last 5 years, 47 officers net loss per year. We have to stop that. We have to be able to train. Atlanta PD uses a figure of $93,000 it takes to train an officer in 1 year. We used in Savannah Chattel Metro, where I was coming from, we said it took us $78,000. We put that between Atlanta being high, Savannah being low, it's in the $80,000. You can't afford to waste that kind of money walking out after all that training. So we have to create a place that's a great place to work. That means that, and we can do that, Commissioner, with very little money, etc. We can do that in terms of how we treat people in church. And most folks will not work, and particularly our young people, our millennials, if you don't invest in them interpersonally, they can find jobs. They'll go somewhere else and work. So we've got to change the culture in terms of growing and developing our people. We have to change our leadership styles. And we think we're going to present some things to the CEO next week, I think Tuesday, about how we are to exactly do that. Do I have a plan? I have a plan, but it has to be actually tweaked to DeKalb County. This was my 40th day on the job. And I don't know DeKalb County. I've met with the commissioner, I've met with the other commissioners, I've met with CEO, but I've met with different groups. I want to hear people's ideas, and then I'm going to take what I think are the best practices in America and tweak it to DeKalb County. Well, how do I know any of those best practices? I served for about a decade on the National, Nobles Board, the National Organization of Black Law Enforcement. For the last decade or so, I served on the Board of Directors of the International Association of Chiefs of Police, about 30,000 member organization. Mostly it's argument in there because of some of the things the commissioner said. They look at the world one way, I look at the world a different way, having been a child of the 60s and integration. And we've been pushing the police, trying to get some issues. We were pushing them before Ferguson, that we have to change the police culture. I started doing this to change the police culture. I think I've changed the police culture in 4 other cities where I've been the top law enforcement officer. I'm not the top law enforcement officer here. I'm the public safety director, and I have to remember my friends in fire, I have to represent them also. But your issues in DeKalb County revolve around the police department at this point, not the fire department. Fire department, I don't want to be negative toward either of the departments. I've had to lead those men and women. But the fire department will go to full staff next month. And with that, they'll say it's a great system. They'll have about almost 100 in training. But it's better to have them in the classroom than not have them employed. Because again, good people are going to find jobs, quality people. And that's what we have to do with the police. We've got to hire for character. We got to hire people who have high character, and then we can teach them the competencies. But unless we treat them right once we get them in, they're going to leave in 2 or 3 years. We have to keep our eye on the target too. We cannot have goals that we're going to hire 60 officers this year, or 70 officers, or 80 officers, when we know in the last 5 years we've averaged losing 110 officers. Our goal must be attrition plus. Whatever we lose, we've still got to add those 40, 60 officers a year to. So that makes people work on both ends. Let's treat people right, let's keep them, etc. Let's be honest, transparent with the commission of what the problems, challenges are there. And let's also work hard enough to get officers. Can it be done? Atlanta's down 270, Gwinnett's down, Cobb is about even now. Columbus is down 70 yards. Savannah is over. We had an attrition factor. We were over 100 officers or so short when I went in there 3 years ago. In 14 months we closed. And we had, again, we're in training, but we had 14, 16 months, we had all the positions filled. One of the ways that we did it, and then we started here, we have a marketing team, and we're asking any of y'all can join our marketing team. You know something about marketing. How do we sell DeKalb County to applicants? How do we, not just DeKalb County PD, but how do we sell DeKalb first? And then we sell DeKalb County PD. That's a great place to work. And then we teach our people how to treat them. The marketing team met first last week, local folks and some cops, and it was kind of ironic with the people, the internal people, the police officers serving on. They said, well, how are we going to do this? We didn't hire for 66 last year. Well, if you said, don't fail me, people. That if you think you can't do it, you can't. So if you think you can't do it, let me know. We'll replace you. You can go back and do something else. We'll find someone who can do it, because it can be done. But if you don't have that mindset, then you're going to transmit that to other people. And leadership has to have that mindset. It will be done. The saying it can be done. I said in Albany when we were trying to drop Albany had led the nation in per capita murder. It shall be done. We're going to drop it. Now, how do we do it? We identify the root causes, and then we work on them. We have a crime issue, particularly in certain parts of the community. We have to focus on that. We have to, that's one of their challenges is people tend to start giving up when you don't have the staff that the dollars are allocated. Well, what can I do about it? I don't have enough people. We are going to practice something called precision policing. It's intelligent-led precision policing. The shooters are the ones that scare you. The people who are robbed, and the shooters are the robbers. People who are shooting. Statistics says 0.5% of the population are actually doing that. And typically they're group involved, like group/gang involved. My people haven't told me about the gangs per se. I ride the elevator with the rank and file, and they tell me about the gangs. It's a disconnect. It seems like we're afraid to say gangs. We have gangs. And as my father was not very politically correct, he would say, boy, a person with one eye and half sense knows better than that. So we cannot impact gangs and compete with them for our young people if we don't recognize that they exist and what they're doing. And the CEOs attempt to give young folks jobs, keep them structured in recreational types of things, will reduce crime. That's right. Back to the officers issue, 243 positions to fill. That's not a 1 year, that's not something going to be accomplished in 1 year. We're going to lose anywhere from 80 to 110. That's 86 has been the lowest we've lost in the last 10, 12 years. 120 odd have been the highest. So 100 last year, 118 in 2016. We're going to try to cut that number, but we have to add about 60 to 80 more than we actually lose each year to bail out. And we have to teach additional academies. Well, we can't do that with our staff. We can, but they've given us the money to get the staff for that. They all may not be DeKalb County police officers. We might have to hire one in a contract who used to do it and bring him back to do it. And keep that able-bodied. We're looking for a person who has management skills, who has the mental capacity, has knowledge, skills, and ability to teach, not to run after 18-year-olds.
Right.
They're confusing the issues and challenges, but that's where we're going. And I hope the brief tells you where we're going and what we're going to try to do. And we'll be transparent. One thing about cops, let me go ahead and make this disclaimer. They don't always do things exactly correct. What I can promise you is that when we mess up, we're going to fess up, we're going to clean it up, and we're going to be transparent.
Wow, that's great, great.
We hire humans, and unfortunately, humans make errors. Our goal is perfection, but we don't always get there. Thank you.
We want to thank Chief, I think Chief Lumpkin, for sharing with us this morning. And in the interest of time, I want Gober to come up. We heard the community say, safety, what are you doing? So thank you for sharing with us some of the things that are being put in place. Now and we're going to have our candidates too. We're going to acknowledge our candidates if you just give us a few minutes. Now, I'm going to give you a great task here. Now, I'm going to see if you know, because I'm your best friend. Now, when I do inspirations at my sorority, all they give us is 2 minutes. And they watch their clock, don't they? They really do. You got 2.
You got 2 minutes. Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning. Well, I want to speak to you about your school system. I'm the Director of Public Safety for the DeKalb County School System. And I know safety is on top of mind for everybody right now in light of the tragedy that happened in Parkland. And what I want to do is have a little conversation and let you know what we're doing in the DeKalb County School System to keep your children safe. First of all, we've got 73 police officers that serve as school resource officers. We have our own police department. So these men and women specialize in keeping your children safe. We have 114 campus supervisors who are security personnel that are on each campus. We have an officer in every high school and every middle school. We have a safe schools unit of 4. That safe schools unit goes around and audits the schools. They're unannounced. They come and put the school on a level 3 lockdown or an intruder alert, or what like people like to say now is active shooter drill. And when they do, they grade the students, the staff, the principal. They grade everybody, my SROs. They grade the security personnel and how they respond. Afterwards, they have an after-action report where they meet with some of the students and get their feedback. Do you feel safe? Do you feel like you were prepared for this drill? Do you feel like the actions that they made you do actually going to keep you safe? And they take this data, and then we work with this data, and we give the feedback to the principals and regionals, and we make changes where we need to make sure that they're safe. Now, a lot is going into what happened in Parkland, and I guess the resource officers, sheriff's deputy, that did not go in when it happened. We're all hearing that on TV. Now, I'm not going to get into their training and what they have down there. That wouldn't be right. But I'm going to tell you how our officers are trained. Our school resource officers are all trained in something called the alert system. and that stands for Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training. That is, they train specifically for the active shooter scenario. All school resource officers in DeKalb County have that training. We also have an emergency response team that's unique to a lot of school systems and police departments. Our emergency response team would be what the regular police would say is a SWAT team. But our emergency response team, they specialize in just that, active shooter events. They train 3 times a month for those events. And they have been training 3 times a month for years now. Our commander, Corporal Blakely, of that team is sitting at the table right there. So he makes sure that they do. Now, they have the same qualifications as the SWAT team, but they specialize in active shooter events for schools. Okay? Now, what they also do is they went to the Federal Law Enforcement Academy in Biloxi, which is Glencoe, Georgia, and some went to Charleston to get active shooter trained on the federal level, because the Federal Law Enforcement Center has a slightly different criteria than the alert. But the FBI, actually, in the Department of Justice, they support the alert and they train in the alert system. The other federal agencies train in the federal model. Our ERT team has both. And then that man right there is an instructor on the state and national level in both. And he trains all of our SROs and our emergency response team in those things. Now, for the interest of time, we're talking about responding to an active shooter event. Okay? Now, what we're trying to do is stop it before it happens. We want to be preventative. What we are doing that I think is quite innovative, that our Dr. Bureau Superintendent has supported and the board has also supported when it comes to that, is we like to do those wraparound services. I think we have an advantage because our SROs are specially trained for schools. And what they do is they interact with these children. They're invested in these children. On a daily basis, they see them. We're also mandating that all the SROs have crisis intervention training, and over half our department has that. And what that's doing is letting our SROs recognize when a child is in crisis. Because obviously that child that perpetrated that awful crime was in crisis. So our officers are trained to recognize that. And when they recognize it, try to get the support and services to that child. So we're more, that's why they're school resource officers. We're more than just police officers. We like to be resources for the school and also students. I tell the officers all the time, that S stands for student resource officer. And that's why they're there. So what we do at that point is we're training in officers to recognize this, get with the counseling department, get with the social work, get with DFACS to give that child and those parents the support that they need and intervene before it escalates to something like the tragedy that we saw in Florida. One of the things that I have to say, and it's not my department, I'm going to brag on the Office of Student Relations, is we have an awesome bullying protocol. And the bullying protocol that comes out of the Office of Student Relations, you see in many of these tragic situations, these kids felt like they were isolated. They felt bullied. You know, they felt worthless. A lot of them, before they become homicidal, a lot of them are suicidal at that point because they don't have that support. Our bullying protocol that we have in DeKalb County addresses that. And we've got a whole team and people that are specialized in recognizing that the bullying is going on, going in and being proactive. And that also is a part of the wraparound services that we try to provide for our students. Thank you for the time.
You did good, thank you. You got your job 30 more days. Good job, thank you. I think this is time for our candidates. Now, before we get to candidates, I want to acknowledge Judge Ron Ramsey sent his staffer to represent him today because he's been out of town, and Judge Ramsey has been a very good supporter of any of our initiatives and endeavors. Thank you very much for coming. And then our Solicitor General, Donna Coleman Stribling, she had to leave. She got little ones, God bless her, and so she had to go be mom. But she was here earlier to support us, and she had to leave. And I wanted to acknowledge a very special woman here in this room today, and that is Zipporah Roberts. For those of you who may not know, Ms. Roberts served faithfully on the school board. She got the seat ready for me. She kept it warm until I showed up. And I tell young people that, Ms. Roberts, I said, I'm only there until you rise up to the challenge. And then I'll get out of the way. And I thank you, Ms. Roberts, for your service to the DeKalb County School Board. Thank you for being blessings upon you as you're on the next leg of your life, the next leg of your journey. We have people here, and they've been so faithful. They did everything. Your president will be proud of you because they came from Atlanta Metropolitan College. And not only did they come looking good and sharp, representing, but they got behind the table and were working and helping serve you breakfast. And that's Ms. Solomon, who was the vice president, I believe, one of the VPs. And I'm sorry, sir, with the handsome bow tie.
Christopher Ruffin.
Christopher, I should remember that. Okay, Ruffin. They came here and brought some information about the school. They are seeking students, just like we are in DeKalb, and they've got an excellent program over at Atlanta Metropolitan College for those who are looking for gainful employment opportunities to be trained. And so I would say, please pick up some of the information in the back. Thank you also for being patient with us and coming out and bringing Fulton over here to us. We really appreciate it, and we'll come over there and celebrate you as well. Now our candidates. I'll never forget the day I woke up and said yes. But I want to acknowledge, we'll be Ms. Hardy. I want to get to our candidates real fast. We've got some candidates who are running for office, and I want you got even a shorter window than Mr. Hardy. And so I got to chop you. I got to chop. I don't want to, but have you ever watched Chop? I love you. You big Chop. So anyway, those of you who are running for office, first, thank you. Thank you for sitting. Thank you for being patient. Thank you for coming this morning. But this is the beginning. And for those of you who don't know, our lives are for service. It's not for accolades. It's not for glory. It's not for glamour. It's not for glitz. It's to serve. And he said the greatest among us are those who serve. So thank you for saying yes, that you want to come out and be a part of the solution for DeKalb County. And so I'm going to have, and I don't want to miss anybody, so you know you're going to have to, I'm older. I'm a Delta Deer, and I'm a senior citizen. So, and I'm menopausal. So it's not me personal. I don't want to forget anybody, but I want to get out here before I have a hot flash. Now, I want Ms. Hopewell to come up, and those who are offering, please. And then I want Judge Courtney Johnson, who is offering for re-election, to come up over here. And then I want Senator, I think she had to leave, Tanya P. Anderson, who is running for re-election, and Joel Thibodeau, who is offering for that seat, that Senate seat. Please come on up, help me out, y'all. And then for school board, Letitia Deer, I know, Letitia Deer Jackson. That's the only thing I remember about you, is that your middle name is Deer. And come on up, Ms. Deer Jackson. And those who are offering for that seat, Roderick Bridges was here earlier, but I think he had to leave. Tunde is here. Come on up, please. Okay, I think those are the ones. Is that for that? Judge, school board. I'm going to get to my school board. I got all my judges. Okay, and then the others is Lance Hammond. Come on up. He's offering for school board, and we want him to come up. And then Mr. DaCosta is offering for school board. Okay, that's your twin in the back, because I'm looking at him like, why you back there? Why you back there? Okay, and any other school board candidates that are, this, a young lady, come on up, please, that's, Candace McKinley, is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, she's gonna gather her picture, she's running for school board, I forget her vision, but they'll tell you that. Any other? You got more commissioners? I got where's my commissioner? Come on up here. Come on up here, Greg, Bishop Greg Adams. Thank you for what you said, yes again. Again, we gotta keep saying yes, over and over, don't we?
Right.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, come on up. And is there anyone else? Again, I'm not trying to overlook, I just can't see real well sometimes. Okay, so we're gonna have, we're good? Now we're gonna, we already know our congressman is running. He's already told us that, and we all gonna support him. That's just the way it is. And so, I'll tell you a story later, but about my congressman. He called me and said, Vicki, my mother told me to support you. This is a few years ago. And I said, I'm just happy somebody listened to their mama. He said, what do you need? And he did everything I asked him to do. So you got me, you got my grandchildren, you got my great-grands, you got them all. As long as you want to do it. All right. So now we're going to have Ms. Hopewell come up and share a platform. 1 minute. 1 minute, please. No, come on. That's all time.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jeanette McIntosh Hopewell, and I'm a candidate for Division 1 in DeKalb Superior Court. That's the seat currently occupied by Courtney Johnson. And my mission on this journey is because I think that DeKalb deserves better. The Superior Court is a very important position because it affects the lives of everyday people. And no matter who comes into the courtroom, no matter what your position is, no matter where you live, and no matter what reason you come, you may be coming in there because you have a business dispute. You may be coming in there because your child has been charged with a crime. You may be coming there because you're trying to get out of a bad marriage or in a custody dispute with your ex. But whatever the reason, you're entitled to have a judge who is competent, who is fair, who is impartial, and who will treat everyone with dignity and respect. I don't think that we're getting that now, and that is my reason for offering myself a service to you. So I'm going to ask that when you go to the poll on May 22nd, that you send a message loud and clear that DeKalb deserves better. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Courtney Johnson, and I am currently the Chief Judge of the DeKalb Superior Court. I have been a judge for 8 years at this point, and before I took the bench, I was an assistant district attorney and also an assistant solicitor. I began my career in DeKalb County as an advocate for victims of domestic violence in the DeKalb County Solicitor General's office. On the Superior Court, I hear cases involving felony criminal matters and also civil matters involving divorce, custody, and child support, and also issues about property disputes and contract disputes. Now, there are some of my political opponents who are making allegations against me that are untrue and are false allegations. I have always treated everyone who has appeared before me with fairness, dignity, and respect. And I am going to run this race the same way that I ran the race to get into this seat. I'm going to run on my record because I am a qualified candidate. I have experience not only trying criminal cases, which is the majority of the cases that go to trial here in DeKalb County, but also presiding over criminal cases. And I hope that you will look to my record. I have served the citizens of this county for 17 years, 8 years as a judge, and years before that as an assistant district attorney and assistant solicitor general. And I hope that you will look at my record and make a decision about me based on my record and not just things that are said about me in the media. So thank you all for your support, and I hope that I can earn your vote on May 22nd. If you want to learn more about me, please visit my website at judgecourtneyjohnson.com. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is
Municipal Court Judge Letitia Deere Jackson. I am a sitting judge in the city of Stone Mountain. I am the first female judge in the history of that city and have had the pleasure of sitting for the last 11 years. I'm also a former chief judge in the city of Lithonia, where I also was the first female to serve in that capacity. As municipal court judge, a lot of times I'm allowed to sit by designation in other courts. What that means is for 9 of the elected state court judges, I have had the opportunity to sit for them, presiding over jury trials on civil as well as criminal and handling all the matters that come before them. Additionally, I am the only candidate that has had the opportunity to serve as a Superior Court judge. So for the position that I am running for, I have actually done the job. I did it as sitting as designation for one of our elected officials. There I presided over some civil trials as well as criminal matters, signed search warrants, and did some property disputes, presided over those. Additionally, as a lawyer, I have done complex civil, family law, criminal defense. I'm a former criminal prosecutor, as well as I have handled property disputes. I am running on the platform of fair justice and experience you can trust. The fair justice is very simple. As the president of the Council of Municipal Court Judges, I am working on initiatives such as access and fairness to our courts. Those initiatives have been signed on by the Governor's Criminal Justice Reform Council that you heard our state legislators talk about. We are also working on bail reform. And what I can commit to doing for you, and you can write this down, is we have signed on for initiatives for misdemeanor bail reform. However, for our low-level offenders, and for those that need to be in drug court or have mental health issues, I am committed to using those same principles for those types of felonies. So that way we can open up the jails for those that are hardened criminals and repeat offenders, and keep the jails open and away from those people who are just indigent and solely in custody only because they cannot afford it. If you would like to learn more about me, please visit LetitiaForJudge.com. It's all spelled out, LATISHAFOR Judge.com. In addition to voting for me on May 22nd, I look forward to seeing you at the polls during early voting, which begins on April 30th. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Tunde Akinyele. I am running for Division 7 of the DeKalb Superior Court for the same seat that Tish is running for. Tish was actually my first junior trial partner back in the solicitor's office back in 2001. I have been in the DeKalb County court system for 18 years, starting out as an assistant solicitor. I became a senior assistant DA in the district attorney's office. I have tried a variety of cases, including what you will call the ultimate case, where somebody killed 3 family members and the state was seeking the death penalty. Those are cases that a Superior Court judge will have to deal with. I have been involved, I have tried those, I have seen those. I left the DA's office in 2013. I became a judge in the city of Lithonia. I am the current chief judge in Lithonia Municipal Court, and I was designated in 2014 to sit as a judge in the DeKalb County State Court, which I have done consistently since then. I have tried a variety of cases as a state court judge. I had 7 trials last year. I believe 2 criminal cases, 5 civil cases, no reversals in any of those cases, and no complaints of any kind. One thing I will bring to the bench is simple. One size does not fit all cases. It's that simple. If a crime is committed, even though we call it armed robbery, the question is the victim is different, the defendant is different, the type of case may be different. We have to look to see whether or not this merits, because we have a lot of mandatory sentences in Superior Court. In some situations, we have to be firm, we have to punish, obviously, but in cases where we can seek alternatives, we have to also look for it, because at the end of the day, it's our kids getting in trouble, okay? And the question is whether or not, when your kid comes before me, whether I treat that kid fairly and with respect. That is what I have always done. One thing you will find in this race is all of us will have websites. Mine is tundeforjudge.com. One thing I will ask you all, because you are all committed voters in DeKalb County, go to the courthouse, ask the deputies in the courthouse, ask the bailiffs, ask the other lawyers, ask them about the candidates. What is their reputation? What is their qualification? How have they treated you in the past? ask those questions, and I would ask you to vote for me on May 22nd, 2018. I am seeking your vote. I am seeking your support. tundeforjudge.com. Thank you so much.
Good morning, neighbors. My name is Joel Thibodeau, and I'm offering myself as the senator for the 43rd Senate District, which covers Stonecrest, Rockdale County, and Newton County. My wife, Stacy, and I of 30 years brought our flamboyant name to DeKalb County 30 years ago, about a month after we got married. I currently serve as the Director of Internal Audits and Compliance at the DeKalb County School District. And prior to that, I served in the Senate Budget and Evaluation Office under the Gold Dome, which means that I assisted in writing the state budget. And I also served with the Finance Committee, which means that I also had input on tax policy when tax policy needs to be rolled out. Currently at the school district, what I've accomplished there is that I took a new policy for fundraising to the students of elementary schools. Prior to that, only outside organizations like foundations and PTAs could raise money in elementary schools. But what about these schools on the south side that did not have the personnel and the parental involvement to do that? They were stuck. So we were able to write a policy that allows those schools to fundraise individually. Also what I've done in the past year, I was chair of the Governor's Commission on the City of Stonecrest over the transition team from county to municipal governance. In that time, I gathered 75 community volunteers. Some of them are sitting in here or were sitting in here earlier. 75 people on 6 committees to input and put a plan together on how to best govern the city and what types of initiatives needed to be put out there. When our city council and mayor were elected, we turned that plan over to their stewardship. I plan to bring energetic, effective, and inclusive representation into the 43rd District. There's a lot of legislation floating around, as our delegation said earlier, of people who don't live here trying to legislate how we govern ourselves. Someone has to stand up and be proactive to stop that type of activity and to offer legislation of our own. Because when our house needs to be cleaned up, it is up to us to figure out how that is supposed to happen. So once again, my name is Joel Thibodeau. I plan to bring energetic, effective, and inclusive representation to you, the residents of the 43rd Senate District. My website is www.joelforsenator.com. Joel Thibodeau, the name to know.
I'm standing before you again, and I'm standing before you to declare my candidacy for District 7 Commissioner, the seat that I already hold. And I'm going to tell y'all about being a commissioner. It's not about sitting up on the platform and saying, hey, that's the commissioner. It's about work, dedication, and commitment. When I got elected in 2016, I came into this office rolling up my sleeves, ready to go to work. While I was there, I was appointed chairperson of Public Works and Infrastructure. Public Works, it oversees $2 billion of our projects that come through the county. Then the chairperson, the presiding officer, decided to put me on IRPS, and Marita Johnson chairs IRPS. And IRPS stands for Employee Relations Public Safety. That's why our police officers got a raise. That's why we're fighting hard to give our employees a better pay. It's commitment and dedication. And that's what I bring to the table. And somebody began to ask and said, okay, well, what's your background? Well, I have a degree in business management. I own 2 companies, my wife and I, well actually 3, and then I partner with another company so we can move forward. I'm also a veteran of the United States military. Sad part about it, I'm a disabled veteran. I know I don't look disabled, but I have bad knees. At the same time, because I was air assault, jumping out of planes, so as you get older, it begins to tell on you. At the end of the day, I got out of the Army with an honorable discharge. Running my business, I felt like my life was not complete. There's something more I wanted to do. So I became a police officer in DeKalb County. Why? Because I'm a servant. I care about people and I care about your life and or your livelihood. Now, I left corporate America to become a police officer. It wasn't for the money. Because you need somebody strong, somebody willing to go out there and fight for you. And the public safety stands for, we stand to protect our citizens. We put our life on the jeopardy so that you can be safe and free. And that's what's important for me. At the end of the day, we do what we need to do. Then I saw that there was a need to run for office. I first sought the CEO position, that was 2012. Burl Leathers and I are very good friends. I then went up to District 7, all lined up within my district, and I had the right to run. I didn't win, he won that seat. Then I went for District 5, still a commissioner. I'm not jumping from position to position to get in office. I stayed committed to the position I'm trying to serve. And I'll tell you what, I finally got elected to District 7. Now, I just got back from Washington. And I'm a member of NACO, and NACO stands for National Association of Commissioners. The president of NACO saw fit to put me over the International Economic Development Team, and that's across the nation. And while we were there, we were talking about jobs that we can bring to the county. Other ways we can bring revenue into the county. I met with the staff of Donald Trump, who is now running the country, but I had to meet with his people. And I tell folks all the time, I'm a Democrat, you're a Republican, but we serve the people. So I don't care about party, I care about people. I don't care about the color of skin, I care about people. So doing that, all I want to do is make sure I take care of the people. Not only the people of DeKalb County, but if my role can be significant in other states or across the nation as it is, then I want to play an intricate part of that. On top of that, the president of NACO put me on the chair board for veterans and military service. I sit on that board. I met with the director of VA. We sat down and talked about jobs that you think we can do for our veterans. A lot of them are homeless, a lot of them without jobs. And whether you know it, every day, there are about 22 veterans that commit suicide. So we got to put some programs together to help those that are mentally disturbed. I'm a war veteran. And I'm going to tell y'all that old saying, war is hell, it really is. So a lot of guys, they suffer from it. They suffer from PTSD because they can't deal with what is taking place. And then doing so, then they prescribe some medicine so they can help retard some of the issues that they're dealing with. At the end of the day, I'm already in the seat, and I want to stay in the seat. I want to continue to serve you as your commissioner of District 7. But as I go to my seat, I will say this. You see Rob coming up. I'll say this. In all the years, the DeKalb County commissioners could not get a SPLOST. The school board got one, but DeKalb County in 2017, the DeKalb County Board of Commissioners voted for a SPLOST, and the SPLOST is going to bring $636 million in DeKalb County, and every city will get a part of that SPLOST so that we can repair the roads, not fix potholes, but completely resurface the streets of DeKalb County. So come May 22nd, let's go back to April the 30th.
Yes.
When you go to the polls, remember the name Gregory Adams. And if you lose focus on something, y'all know the deal. Da-da-da-da.
Well, it's hard to follow that. But I'm Candace D. McKinley. I'm running for District 2, and that is in the North Druid Hills cluster for the school board. Anybody in District 2 or know somebody in District 2?
Nope. Yeah.
That's all right. That's all right. That's why I came today to introduce myself to you all, because I need the village. Even though I'm up in District 2, I need all of us to come over there because we need equity in our schools. We need our schools to be safe. And yeah, shaking the head, right? And that is the topic. And we need fairness in our discipline protocols in our schools. I'm a civil rights attorney. I was trained by the good Mauli Davis at DB Law across the street. He taught me as a young lawyer, but also as a mother. I knew I needed to fight for not my kids who were sitting here earlier, but for all of the kids in DeKalb. I say equity because I was in the Lithonia cluster, and my kids was not getting access to what they needed. And I had to move over to North Druid Hill to get access, and that's not right. I love Ms. Turner for inviting me today, for letting me come here today so that you can see who I am. Because even though I am up against a hard fight in District 2, I know it's winnable because we work together as a collective people to do right by us and our kids. Yes. And we have to. My mom was here earlier, and she's just supporting me so much, but I need all of y'all's support. So on May 22nd, please bring family, friends, church buses, everybody up to District 2, because I'm gonna need it. I really am, because I'm here as a mother, a fighter, and an advocate for our kids. Thank y'all so much.
Good morning. Good morning. I first want to thank God for allowing me to be able to stand with kings and queens that currently serve and to protect DeKalb County. My name is Dijon DaCosta, and I'm running for the DeKalb County School District Board of Education District 6. Not only that I'm running for this district, I went to high school here in this district, the mighty Redan High School, graduate of 2005. I also have a daughter that attends our great school district here in DeKalb County, Chastity DaCosta, which is 11 years old. I am an identical twin, Dijon DaCosta. So when you look at the pose, you will see Dijon twin DaCosta. I started my journey here in DeKalb County in 1989, in which my family had moved us down here. My mother had the opportunity of raising 7 kids on her own. And I know with the support of this community, they was able to and capable of helping us succeed. Community, homes, and school is my motto, bridging that gap. Because I believe with a successful school district, our community will be great. And with a successful community, our homes will be phenomenal. See, in the last 25 years, things changed. See, we came from households with mothers and fathers. 25 years later, it's been divided. So we have a problem. So my main focus here in the school district is to focus on mental illness. Dismantling the school to prison pipeline. And also building a direct line of communication between our families. I had the opportunity to teach at Middle Grove High School, human anatomy and physiology, and also chemistry. I graduated from Kennesaw State with a sociology and criminology degree. I had the opportunity to work in human capital management as assistant hiring teachers and qualified teachers staff all across the district, and most importantly, District 6, the same school that I had the chance to attend. And I bring my twin brother along with me, because he actually works with the DeKalb County School District as well. So as a team, we do this, and we've been out in the trenches. 5 years ago, we developed a program. After I graduated from Kennesaw State, we developed a program called the DeKalb Kids Project. And that program allowed young leaders to become successful like you because of that gap, that disconnect. So I had the opportunity to go build, honestly, the My Brother's Keeper at the DeKalb County School District for the last 5 years. I was a part of that. There's an urgency on education. It's a disconnect. We have to be that one to make that stand, DeKalb. So when you go to that polls, vote Dijon Twin DaCosta for the DeKalb County School District, Board of Education, District 6. Thank you.
Good morning again. I'm Lance Hammonds, and I'm running for DeKalb County Board of Education District number 6. I've been to a lot of these breakfasts. I stay involved. I've always been involved. That's why a lot of you already know me. And I just want you guys to really focus here that the most important office that's going to be elected this year is school board. Schools are the key to our communities. A prosperous community needs to have schools that are academically superior and can compete with any school in the nation, not just in the metro area, not just in DeKalb County, but in the nation. And that's how we do that. So I'm really excited about this opportunity. Tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a guy that if I see a need in the community, I try to go and fix it. That's what I do. I don't just talk about it, I try to be about it. We talked about what's the problems in our schools. It keeps coming back to community and family engagement. Instead of just talking about community and family engagement, with my chairmanship at the Cabinet NAACP Education Committee,
we started a community school volunteer program. We've actually gone out, gotten volunteers to come to the schools. We've got them registered, orientated, and going into the school system. And to take that a step further, working with our current school board members, they're developing a policy to really enhance getting parents into the school, getting the community more involved with their schools. Because that's the key, guys. I've been here since '84, and we spent a lot of money on our schools. And if you look around, what is the difference? The difference is schools that have parents, loved ones, grandparents involved with those schools. That's what we're trying to do with my program. And what I want to do also is two key things. Public safety, that's important. We got to do it, we got to make that right. Also, we have to enhance community and school engagement. There is a budget line for that. We have folks that go out in the community and work to do these things. The school district has this thing, the Circle of Care. I don't know if you've seen that, but that was the greatest thing I've ever seen, Vicki, thank you. What they talk about are the wraparound services that serve our kids before they get to the classroom. Our teachers are doing a great job. We got to help get the things done before they get to the classroom. And the only way we can do that is all of us get involved, wrap our arms around our schools and say, no, this is not going to happen. And what my vision is for my candidacy on the school board is, I want to make the DeKalb County schools the destination of choice for young families trying to educate their children. When I got here in '84, I had a 2-year-old. I'm coming from Arizona. The relocation company with Chevron moved us here. I said, hey, don't know anything about Atlanta. Where should I go? I got a 2-year-old. I got to educate that child. And say, sir, you need to go to DeKalb County. They didn't take me to Gwinnett County. They didn't take me to Cobb County. They brought me to DeKalb County. And that's what we need. The public service director was talking about marketing DeKalb. I know the commissioners, everybody else talk about marketing DeKalb. The best way to market DeKalb is make it the destination of choice for quality education in this metro area. Again, my name is Lance Hammonds. I'm running for DeKalb County Board of Education, District Number 6. May 22nd, vote for me. Thank you.
Great job. We're going to have, just so you know, we're going to have a forum, a political forum, which you'll be given more time as candidates to really share and for the community to engage in that process to make us better informed voters. So you'll get our information, you're on the mailing list. We just got a couple of announcements. Let me ask you to do this, okay? My back is hurting a little bit because I'm old. Help me clean up this room. I want y'all to just fold those tablecloths in. I'm not saving anything, and we're going to throw them away, get them in the trash. Just help me clean up just a little bit. We can all leave and go home and take a nap. Warren Hudson is out. Okay, I'm just doing this. Warren Hudson is out. He's up here now, but he is offering a free chess program on March the 17th. March 17th for any young people. What's the ages on?
7 and up, 7 to 107.
7 to 107. Those who want to engage in chess practices. Oren is offering it, and here is the flyer. He's out in the hallway here. He's got more flyers for you. So please support him. He's doing a phenomenal job with our children and helping them to develop critical thinking skills. Critical thinking skills. So please come out to support. I think that we got some, y'all, I'm sorry you all, as you clean up, we got some announcements from the NAACP and
NAACP in the house.
Teresa Hardy is going to come up with her outside voice and tell you what she is. Okay. A couple of things. It was great to see that a lot of our candidates have signed up to be public servants. But as your civil rights organization, if we don't do the civic engagement piece, then we won't do a good job of getting our people out to vote for these candidates. So we, thank you.
Excuse me, just for a few moments, please.
It won't take long.
Important.
This is very, very important. How many people are registered to vote in DeKalb County? Okay, this is good. All right,
here's what I need the registered voters to do. Make sure everybody on your street is registered to vote. That's gonna be number one. We're gonna, if you want to help us in NAACP go throughout the whole county for making sure people are registered to vote, please contact the NAACP office so that we can actually help. We need the volunteers for that. And we're gonna have some pamphlets that tell you all the information you need to know about voting. And then we're gonna have a mobilization plan that we want everyone to get involved with. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows that NAACP is your number one spot for getting voter registration, voter education, and voter mobilization. And we do have our Unity Breakfast coming up April 14th at Green Forest Baptist Church, and we want everyone to be in attendance there. Our CEO, Michael Thurman, will give us the keynote, and our theme is Remembering the Dream, Honoring the Dreamer, Dr. Martin Luther King and his 50 years of assassination, and our MC would be Karen Greer from Channel 46. So we thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, we need the volunteers at NAACP. Thanks.
And please sign in if you haven't signed in.